The Nexus Bar was the kind of place where nobody asked too many questions. It sat in the middle of Station Kepler 442b, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. The bar served drinks to every species in the galaxy, and somehow they all managed to get along. Tonight was like any other night. The air hummed with different voices speaking different languages. A group of blue-skinned Altarians played cards in one corner. Their four arms moved quickly as they dealt the cards. Near the windows, some tall green beings from Vega Prime shared stories about their home planet. The crystal bartender, Yaraneth, moved between tables like flowing water. Her body caught the light and threw rainbow colors across the walls. Kim Minho sat alone at the bar. He was tired. His cargo ship had broken down again, and he was waiting for new parts. The parts would not arrive until tomorrow, which meant he was stuck on the station for the night. He did not mind. The beer was good and the company was quiet. Minho was a simple man. He hauled cargo from one planet to another. It was not exciting work, but it paid well enough. He was not tall or strong or brave. He was just a regular human trying to make a living in a big galaxy. The bar was warm and friendly. Soft music played from speakers hidden in the walls. The lights were low and comfortable. Beings from a dozen different worlds sat drinking and talking. Some told jokes. Others complained about their jobs. A few played games with dice and cards. Yaraneth moved to Minho's table. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. "Another beer, friend Minho?" Minho nodded. "Please. And maybe some of those spicy nuts if you have them." "Of course." She glided away and returned with his order. The nuts were from a planet called Zirion. They tasted like fire and made his eyes water, but he loved them anyway. The station's communication system crackled to life. "Attention all beings. A ship has docked at Bay 17. All station security report to Bay 17 immediately." Nobody in the bar paid much attention. Ships docked all the time. Security calls were normal. Minho ate another handful of nuts and took a long drink of his beer. Then the temperature in the bar dropped. It happened slowly at first. The warm, comfortable feeling began to fade. Conversations grew quieter. The Altarians stopped playing cards. The beings from Vega Prime stopped telling stories. Even the music seemed to get softer. The main door to the bar slid open with a soft hiss. Everyone turned to look. The creature that walked through the door was 8 feet tall and covered in dark scales. Its eyes glowed yellow in the dim light. Long claws clicked against the metal floor with each step. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth that showed when it smiled. It was a Krolonian. The entire bar fell silent. Even the background music stopped. The only sound was the soft clicking of claws on metal as the creature walked deeper into the room. Minho had never seen a Krolonian before, but he had heard stories. They were hunters. They were predators. They killed for sport. Most civilized worlds had banned them from entering their space, but here, on this neutral station, they were allowed. The Krolonian stopped in the center of the bar. It turned its head slowly, looking at each table, each face. Its yellow eyes seemed to burn with inner fire. When it smiled, beings at nearby tables whimpered softly. Captain Reeks, the station's security chief, was sitting at a table near the back. His 4 blue hands moved toward his weapon, then stopped. His training told him to act, but his brain told him to be careful. The law on neutral stations was complicated. He could not attack unless he was attacked first. The Krolonian's voice was deep and rough like gravel. "Good evening, little creatures. What a lovely night to be alive." It laughed, and the sound made everyone shiver. Minho was still facing the bar. He had not turned around yet. He was trying to figure out why everyone had gone quiet. He could feel the tension in the air, but he did not understand what was causing it. The Krolonian walked closer to the tables. "I am Zethrak of the Bone Fields. I have traveled far to reach this station. I seek entertainment." A small furry being at a corner table fainted. Its friends caught it before it hit the floor. Zethrak laughed again. Excellent. Fear makes the hunt so much more enjoyable. Yaraneth's crystal body had gone completely clear. When she was scared, the colors faded from her skin. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. Zethrak moved between the tables like a shark swimming through still water. I challenge any being here to honorable combat, single battle, to the death. Who among you has the courage to face a true predator? Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Nobody even breathed. The Krolonian pointed at the Altarians. You have 4 arms. Surely that gives you confidence. Captain Reek stood up slowly, his hands still near his weapons. The big green beings from Vega Prime tried to make themselves smaller. A table of merchants from the inner rim suddenly found their drinks very interesting. Minho finally turned around to see what was happening. He had been wondering about the strange quiet. As he turned, he stood up from his chair to get a better view. That was when he bumped the table. The table shook. His beer glass wobbled. For a moment, it seemed like it might stay upright. Then it fell. The glass tumbled through the air, spinning slowly. Beer spilled out in a golden arc. Time seemed to move like thick honey as everyone watched the glass fall. It landed directly on Zethrak's right foot. Beer splashed across the Krolonian's dark scales. The glass shattered on the metal floor with a sound like breaking stars. Every being in the bar gasped at the same time. Zethrak looked down at his wet foot. Then he looked up at Minho. His yellow eyes blazed with surprise and anger. Minho stared back, his mouth hanging open. He had no idea what he had just done. He only knew that the big scary creature was now looking directly at him. And it did not look happy. Minho looked at the broken glass on the floor. He looked at the beer on the Krolonian's foot. He looked up at the creature's burning yellow eyes. "Oh no," he said quietly. "I am so sorry." Zethrak did not move. He stared down at the human who had just spilled beer on him. In 300 years of life, no being had ever dared to attack him so boldly. Most creatures ran away when they saw him coming. This small human had thrown a projectile directly at him. The silence in the bar was so complete that everyone could hear their own heartbeats. Minho grabbed napkins from his table and dropped to his knees. He started trying to clean the beer off Zethrak's foot. "I am really sorry. It was an accident. Please do not be angry." Zethrak's eyes went wide with shock. The human was touching his feet. In Krolonian culture, touching another being's feet was either complete submission or the greatest insult possible. Since this human had already attacked him, it had to be mockery. "You dare mock me?" Zethrak's voice was like thunder. Minho looked up from where he knelt on the floor. "Mock you?" No, I was just trying to clean up the mess. I'm very clumsy. Ask anyone." Yaraneth found her voice. It came out as a whisper. "Human Minho, please step away from him." But Minho was too focused on cleaning to listen. He scrubbed at Zethrak's claws with the napkins. "See? It is coming off. No harm done." Captain Reek stood up slowly. His 4 hands were now clearly visible near his weapons. "Minho, come over here, now." Minho finally looked up. He saw the fear in everyone's eyes. He saw Captain Reeks reaching for his guns. He saw the way every being in the bar was staring at him. "What is wrong?" he asked. Zethrak threw back his head and roared. The sound shook the glasses on every table. "Enough! You have shown great courage, small human, or great stupidity. Either way, you have earned my attention." Minho stood up quickly, bumping his head on the table behind him. "Attention? What kind of attention?" The Krolonian smiled, showing all of his sharp teeth. "The kind that ends in death." "Death?" Minho's voice cracked. "I just spilled some beer. That does not seem like a death kind of mistake." "You have attacked me in public," Zethrak announced loudly. "You have mocked my honor. By the ancient laws of combat, I challenge you to single battle." Minho blinked several times. Combat? Like fighting? Fighting to the death, Zethrak said. It is the Krolonian way. Minho turned to look at the other beings in the bar. They all looked back at him with pity. A few of them shook their heads sadly. But I do not know how to fight, Minho said. I carry cargo. I fix broken machines. I do not hurt people. Captain Reeks walked over slowly. Minho, Krolonian honor challenges are legally binding under galactic law. Once accepted, they cannot be withdrawn. Accepted? Minho looked confused. When did I accept? Zethrak pointed one long claw at him. When you touched my feet after attacking me. In my culture, this means you accept the challenge. Minho felt the blood drain from his face. Oh, that is not good. A small blue being at a nearby table whispered to his friend, The human is dead. Krolonians never lose honor duels. Minho heard this and felt his stomach drop. He turned to the nearest patron, a purple creature with 6 eyes. Ouch! Hold my beer! He handed the alien his remaining drink. The purple being took the glass with shaking tentacles. Everyone in the bar stared at Minho. His calm request sounded like the words of a confident warrior preparing for battle. They had no idea he was just panicking. Yaraneth glided over to him. Human Minho, Krolonians are born predators. They train from birth to kill. Zethrak has won 47 honor duels. No being has ever defeated him in combat. 47. Minho's voice was very small. That seems like a lot. It is a lot, Captain Reeks confirmed. Minho, there might be a way out of this. Galactic law allows for champions. Someone else could fight in your place. Minho looked hopeful for a moment. Really? The champion must volunteer freely, Reeks continued. And they must be willing to die for you. Minho looked around the bar. Nobody met his eyes. Nobody raised their hand. Nobody volunteered to die for a clumsy human cargo hauler they barely knew. I understand, Minho said quietly. It is my mistake. I should fix it myself. Zethrak had been watching this conversation with growing respect. The human showed no begging, no crying, no attempts to run away. This was either very brave or very stupid. You accept the challenge, then? Zethrak asked. Minho thought about his options. He could try to run, but where would he go? He was on a space station. He could try to hide, but that would make him look like a coward. His mother had always taught him to take responsibility for his actions. I accept, he said. His voice was steady, even though his hands were shaking. The bar erupted in whispers. Beings pulled out their communication devices to record this moment. A human was about to fight a Krolonian. This had never happened before. Zethrak nodded with approval. You have honor, small human. I will make your death quick. Thank you, Minho said automatically. Then he realized what he had just thanked him for. Wait, that did not sound right. Captain Reeks stepped forward. According to galactic law, both fighters have the right to prepare. You have 15 minutes. 15 minutes to do what? Minho asked. Say goodbye to your loved ones. Put your affairs in order. Prepare mentally for combat. Minho felt dizzy. Can I sit down for a moment? Of course, Yaraneth said gently. She guided him to a chair. Minho sat down and put his head in his hands. 15 minutes ago, he had been drinking beer and eating spicy nuts. Now he was going to die fighting an 8-foot-tall predator. This has been a very strange day, he said to nobody in particular. Zethrak began stretching and warming up his muscles. His claws extended and retracted as he prepared for combat. Other beings in the bar moved their chairs back to create an open space for the fight. Minho pulled out his communication device and sent a message to his sister back on Earth. Hi, Jiwoo. I might not be able to call you tomorrow. I am about to fight an alien. If something happens to me, please take care of my plants. He put the device away and looked up at Zethrak. The Krolonian was doing some kind of intimidating battle dance. His scales seemed to glow in the dim light. 15 minutes, Minho said to himself. I can do this for 15 minutes. How hard can it be? The 15 minutes passed too quickly. Captain Reek stepped into the center of the cleared space. By the laws of the Galactic Council, this honor duel is legally recognized. Combat will continue until one fighter yields or dies. Are both parties ready? Zethrak cracked his knuckles. Each pop sounded like breaking bones. I am ready to hunt. All eyes turned to Minho. He stood up slowly from his chair. His legs felt like water, but somehow they held him up. He had spent the last few minutes thinking about his life. It had been a good life, even if it was about to be very short. I am ready too, he said. His voice only shook a little. The crowd of aliens pressed back against the walls. Nobody wanted to be close when the fighting started. Yaraneth dimmed the lights slightly. The bar now looked like an ancient arena. Zethrak moved to one side of the open space. His yellow eyes locked onto Minho like targeting systems. He dropped into a hunting crouch, claws extended. Minho walked to the opposite side. He had no idea what position he should take, so he just stood normally. He bounced slightly on his feet like he had seen boxers do on television. Begin! Captain Reeks shouted. Zethrak immediately charged forward. He moved faster than anything Minho had ever seen. His claws glinted in the dim light as he aimed for the human's throat. Minho tried to step backward, but his feet got tangled. He fell straight down, landing hard on his back. Zethrak's claws whistled through the air where Minho's head had been a moment before. The Krolonian's momentum carried him forward. He could not stop in time. His feet hit Minho's legs, which were still sticking up from his fall. Zethrak tripped and crashed into the bar counter. Bottles and glasses exploded around him. The crowd gasped. Someone in the back started cheering for the human. Minho rolled over and pushed himself up. Are you okay? He called out to Zethrak. That looked like it hurt. Zethrak stood up, shaking broken glass from his scales. He had never been knocked down in combat before. His pride was damaged more than his body. You fight with strange tactics, human. I do not think falling down counts as tactics, Minho replied honestly. Zethrak circled around him more carefully this time. He had underestimated this human. The fall and trip might have been planned. Perhaps humans were more clever than he had thought. Minho backed away, trying to keep the predator in sight. He bumped into a table and chairs scattered around him. Sorry, he muttered as he pushed them aside. Zethrak leaped over the furniture, claws reaching for Minho's chest. The human threw up his hands to protect himself. In his panic, he grabbed a serving tray from the nearby table. The metal tray caught the bar's lights and reflected them directly into Zethrak's sensitive eyes. The Krolonian roared and stumbled sideways, temporarily blinded. Oh no! Did I hurt your eyes? Minho asked with genuine concern. He had no idea what he had done. He was still holding the tray, and every time he moved it, more light flashed around the room. Zethrak tried to charge again, but the bright reflections kept hitting his eyes. He swung wildly with his claws, but could not see his target clearly. The crowd was on its feet now. They had never seen anything like this. The human seemed to be controlling light itself as a weapon. Incredible! Someone shouted. The human fights like a warrior of legend. Minho heard this and looked around in confusion. I am just trying not to die, he called back. He kept backing away from Zethrak, who was still swinging blindly. Minho bumped into another table, then a chair, then the wall. Every surface seemed to be trying to trip him up. Zethrak's vision cleared, and he saw the human trapped against the wall. Now you cannot run! He charged forward with both claws extended. Minho slid along the wall, trying to escape. His hand brushed against a control panel. Without looking, he pressed several buttons, hoping one of them might help. The bar's emergency lighting system activated. Brilliant white light flooded the room. The lights were designed to help beings evacuate during emergencies. They were much brighter than the normal bar lights. Zethrak screamed and fell to his knees. The emergency lights were too much for his sensitive Krylonian eyes. He could not see anything except burning white pain. Minho blinked in the bright light. "Oh, these lights are very bright. Are you having trouble seeing?" He walked over to Zethrak, who was covering his eyes with his claws. "I cannot see," Zethrak gasped. "The light burns." "Here, let me help you." Minho reached out and took Zethrak's arm. He tried to guide the Krylonian away from the brightest lights, but Zethrak was disoriented and off balance. When Minho touched his arm, the big predator fell sideways. Minho tried to catch him, and they both tumbled to the floor. Somehow, Minho ended up sitting on Zethrak's back with the Krylonian's arm twisted behind him. It was the same hold that Captain Reeks had taught him during a safety demonstration months ago. Zethrak could not move without hurting himself more. The bright light still burned his eyes. The human's grip on his arm was surprisingly strong. "Do you yield?" Minho asked. He had heard someone say that in a movie once. The crowd held its breath. Zethrak had never yielded to anyone in his life, but he could not see, could not move, and could not escape. The human had somehow defeated him using tactics he had never encountered before. More importantly, the human could have killed him by now, but instead had tried to help him when he was hurt. This showed a kind of honor that Zethrak had never seen before. "I yield," he said quietly. The bar exploded in cheers. Beings jumped on tables and shouted in dozens of languages. The human had won. The impossible had happened. Minho immediately let go of Zethrak's arm and stood up. "Are you sure you are okay? Do you need help getting up?" Zethrak sat up slowly, blinking in the bright lights. He looked at the human who had just defeated him. Minho was extending a hand to help him stand. "You offer assistance to your defeated enemy?" Zethrak asked. "You are not my enemy," Minho said. "You are just someone who got hurt. Do you want some ice for your eyes?" Zethrak stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he reached out and took Minho's hand. The crowd cheered even louder as the human helped the Krylonian to his feet. "I do not understand you, human," Zethrak said, "but I think I would like to." Captain Reeks turned off the emergency lights. The bar returned to its normal, comfortable lighting. Minho helped Zethrak sit down at the nearest table, while the Krylonian's eyes adjusted. "Better?" Minho asked. Zethrak blinked several times. The burning sensation was fading. "Yes, better." Yaraneth approached carefully, carrying 2 glasses. "Drinks for the fighters?" "That would be nice," Minho said. He sat down across from Zethrak. "What do you like to drink?" Zethrak looked confused by the question. "You wish to share drinks with me?" "Why not? The fight is over. Nobody died. I think that deserves a celebration." The other beings in the bar were still staring at them. They whispered among themselves, trying to understand what they had just seen. A human had defeated a Krylonian predator, then offered to buy him drinks. Yaraneth set down 2 beers and stepped back. "These are on the house, for the most unusual duel I have ever witnessed." Minho took a sip of his beer and smiled. "This is much better than fighting." Zethrak picked up his glass but did not drink. "Human Minho, I must ask you something. How did you learn to fight like that?" "Fight like what?" Minho looked genuinely confused. "The light weapons, the tactical falling, the unpredictable movement patterns." Zethrak leaned forward. "These are advanced combat techniques. You must have trained for years." Minho nearly choked on his beer. "Training? I have never trained to fight anything bigger than a stuck cargo door. Everything that happened was an accident." "Accident?" Zethrak's yellow eyes went wide. "I fell down because I am clumsy. I grabbed the tray because I was scared. I hit the lights because I did not know what the buttons did." Minho shrugged. "I was just trying not to die." Zethrak was quiet for a long moment. You defeated me by accident? I did not mean to hurt you, Minho said quickly. Are your eyes feeling better? But Zethrak was not thinking about his eyes anymore. He was thinking about his life. For 300 years, he had been known as the greatest hunter in Krolonian space. He had traveled to dozens of worlds, challenging the strongest fighters he could find. He had won every single combat. He had also been alone for all of those years. Human Minho, Zethrak said slowly, may I tell you something? Of course. I did not come here tonight looking for a fight. I came here looking for friends. Minho set down his beer. Friends? Zethrak nodded sadly. Do you know what it is like to be feared everywhere you go? When I enter a room, everyone runs away. When I try to talk to someone, they think I am threatening them. I have been alone for so long that I forgot what friendship felt like. That sounds terrible, Minho said with genuine sympathy. Tonight, I thought if I challenged someone to combat, perhaps I would finally meet someone brave enough to talk to me afterward. I never expected to lose. Zethrak looked at his claws. I especially never expected my opponent to help me up and offer me drinks. Minho thought about this. So you were lonely? Very lonely. Why did you not just say so? Why all the scary predator stuff? Zethrak laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Because I am a scary predator. It is what I was born to be, what my species expects, what everyone believes about Krolonians. But what do you want to be? Minho asked. The question hit Zethrak like a physical blow. Nobody had ever asked him what he wanted before. I do not know. Minho nodded thoughtfully. I understand that feeling. Before I started hauling cargo, people expected me to be an engineer like my father. But I was terrible at engineering. I kept breaking things instead of fixing them. What did you do? I found something that suited me better. Cargo hauling is perfect for someone who is clumsy. If I drop something in space, it just floats around until I pick it up again. Minho smiled. Maybe you could find something that suits you better, too. Zethrak stared at him. You think I could be something other than a predator? I think you could be anything you want to be. You are smart. You are strong. You could probably do lots of different jobs. Captain Reeks walked over to their table. Excuse me, but I could not help overhearing. Zethrak, are you interested in security work? Security work? Zethrak looked confused. This station always needs good security officers. Someone with your reputation would be perfect for keeping troublemakers in line. Reeks smiled with his 4 mouths. Most of the job involves just standing around looking intimidating. Very little actual fighting required. Zethrak's eyes lit up. You would hire me? After what I saw tonight? Absolutely. Anyone brave enough to fight fairly and honorable enough to yield when beaten is exactly what we need. Minho clapped his hands together. See? You could protect people instead of hunting them. Protect people, Zethrak repeated slowly. He had never thought of using his abilities to help others. I would like that. Yaraneth glided over with more drinks. This calls for another celebration. Zethrak, welcome to Station Kepler 442b. Other beings in the bar began to approach their table. The fear was gone, replaced by curiosity. If the human could sit and drink with a Krolonian, maybe they could too. A small furry creature was the first to speak. Excuse me, Zethrak. I wanted to thank you for fighting honorably tonight. You could have killed the human, but you chose to yield instead. More beings gathered around. They shared stories and asked questions. For the first time in his life, Zethrak found himself part of a group conversation that did not involve threats or challenges. Minho watched this with satisfaction. This is much better than fighting, he said again. Zethrak looked at his new human friend. Minho, how did you know? Know what? That I needed a friend more than I needed a victory? Minho considered this. I did not know. I just treated you the way I would want to be treated. That is what my mother always taught me. Your mother sounds wise. She is. She also makes excellent kimchi. Zethrak did not know what kimchi was, but he smiled anyway. Perhaps someday I could meet her. I would like that, Minho said. She would probably try to feed you too much food and ask when you are going to settle down and have children. For the first time in 300 years, Zethrak laughed with genuine happiness. I think I am going to like being your friend, Minho. I think so too, Minho agreed. The bar continued to buzz with conversation and laughter. Two unlikely friends sat drinking together, surrounded by new acquaintances who were no longer afraid. It had been a very strange night, but it was ending much better than it had begun. The celebration was interrupted when someone burst through the bar's main door. Minho! Everyone turned to see a young human woman running toward their table. She was wearing a cargo hauler's uniform and looked very worried. Park Jisoo? Minho stood up quickly. What are you doing here? Jisoo stopped at their table, breathing hard. I have been looking everywhere for you. We have a serious problem. What kind of problem? Minho asked. Pirates have taken over the cargo depot. They have hostages. Jisoo looked around the bar nervously. They are demanding your cargo specifically. Minho felt his stomach drop. My cargo? But it is just medical supplies. Medical supplies for the plague victims on Kepler 7, Jisoo said. The pirates know how valuable those medicines are. They want to sell them to the highest bidder. The bar had gone quiet again. Everyone was listening to this conversation. Captain Reek stood up. How many hostages? 23 beings, Jisoo answered. Dock workers, cargo handlers, some passengers who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. How many pirates? Reeks asked. At least 15 that we can see. Maybe more hiding inside the depot. Jisoo looked at Minho desperately. They say they will start killing hostages in 1 hour if you do not give them the cargo codes. Minho sat down heavily. But those medicines are for people who are dying. Without them, hundreds of beings on Kepler 7 will not survive. Zethrak had been listening carefully. These pirates threaten innocent lives for profit? Yes, Jisoo said, and our security forces cannot get close. The depot has thick walls, and the pirates have heavy weapons. Any direct attack would get the hostages killed. Captain Reeks paced back and forth. We need a distraction. Something to draw their attention while my teams move into position. What kind of distraction? Minho asked. Reeks looked thoughtful. Something unexpected, something that would make them focus on the wrong threat. Zethrak suddenly smiled. I have an idea. Everyone looked at him. What if I walked up to the depot and demanded to speak with their leader? Zethrak suggested. Pirates are usually cowards. They would be terrified of a Krylonian. That might work, Reeks said slowly. But they could just shoot you. Not if I had backup, Zethrak looked at Minho. What if the human who defeated me was standing beside me? Minho pointed at himself. Me? What would I do? Be yourself, Zethrak said. You defeated a Krylonian in single combat. To them, you would look like the most dangerous human in the galaxy. But I am not dangerous at all, Minho protested. They do not know that, Zethrak grinned. Your reputation will scare them more than weapons. Jisoo looked confused. Minho defeated a Krylonian? Our Minho? It is a long story, Minho said. Captain Reeks was nodding. This could work. The pirates see a legendary predator and the human who beat him. While they are distracted, my teams could surround the building. What would we say to them? Minho asked. Zethrak thought about this. We demand they release the hostages and surrender the cargo. When they refuse, we challenge their leader to single combat. More fighting? Minho sighed. No, Zethrak said. Just the threat of fighting. Pirates are bullies. When faced with real danger, they usually run away. Reeks was already organizing his security teams over his communication device. Give us 20 minutes to get into position, then make your approach. Minho looked around the bar. All these beings were looking at him like he was some kind of hero. He did not feel like a hero. He felt like a cargo hauler who had gotten very lucky. Okay, he said finally. Let us go save some people. 20 minutes later, Minho and Zethrak walked slowly toward the cargo depot. Minho's hands were shaking again, but he tried to look confident. Zethrak moved beside him like a trained bodyguard. The depot was a large building connected to the station's main docking ring. Through the windows, they could see pirates moving around inside. Several hostages sat on the floor with their hands tied. Remember, Zethrak whispered, you are Minho the Krylonian Slayer. You fear nothing. Right, Minho said. I fear nothing, except everything. They stopped in front of the depot's main entrance. Zethrak pressed the communication button. This is Zethrak of the Bone Fields, he announced loudly. I demand to speak with your leader. There was a long pause. Then a nervous voice replied, Go away, Krylonian. We have hostages. I have something better, Zethrak said. I have the human who defeated me in combat. He wishes to make you an offer. Another pause. That is impossible. No one defeats Krylonians. Minho stepped forward. Hello. I am Minho. I would like to discuss releasing the hostages. The pirates inside were clearly arguing among themselves. Finally, their leader spoke. What kind of offer? Release the hostages and we will let you live, Minho said, trying to sound tough. Laughter came through the speaker. You think we are afraid of one human and one Krylonian? You should be, Zethrak said calmly. This human defeated me using tactics I have never seen before. If you fight him, you will lose. More arguing inside. The pirates were scared, but greed was stronger than fear. We want the cargo codes, the leader finally said. No deal without the codes. Minho looked at Zethrak. They had expected this answer. Fine, Minho said. I challenge your leader to single combat. Winner takes everything. You cannot be serious, the pirate leader said. I am very serious, Minho replied. Unless you are too scared to fight one cargo hauler. There was a long silence. Pirates hated looking weak in front of their crews. Fine, the leader said angrily. Single combat, but when you lose, we get the codes and we keep the hostages. Deal, Minho said. Zethrak smiled. Everything was going according to plan. The depot doors opened. Pirates poured out, surrounding the two of them. The leader was a big green alien with 4 arms and lots of weapons, but he was looking around nervously. Where were the rest of their forces? How had just 2 beings walked up so confidently? That was when Captain Reeks and his security teams appeared from every direction. They had the entire depot surrounded. Surprise, Reeks said cheerfully. You are under arrest. The pirates looked around in panic. They were outnumbered and outgunned. Their leader pointed at Minho. This was a trick. Yes, Minho said, but it worked. Most of the pirates threw down their weapons immediately. A few tried to run back into the depot, but security teams were already waiting inside. Within minutes, all the hostages were free and the pirates were in custody. Jisoo ran over to Minho and hugged him. You did it. The cargo is safe. We did it, Minho corrected, looking at Zethrak. And nobody had to get hurt. Zethrak nodded approvingly. I think I like this protecting people job very much. Captain Reeks walked over to them. Outstanding work, both of you. Zethrak, you start your new security job tomorrow. Thank you, Zethrak said. I look forward to it." As they walked back toward the bar, Jisoo asked the question everyone wanted answered. "Minho, how did you defeat a Krylonian?" "It is complicated," Minho said, "but the short version is that I spilled beer on him and everything went wrong from there." "That does not sound very heroic," Jisoo said. "The best heroes usually do not mean to be heroes," Zethrak observed. "They just do what needs to be done." Back at the Nexus bar, Yara Neth had reserved their table. A small sign now read, "Reserved for Heroes." As they sat down with fresh drinks, beings from all over the station came to hear the story of the human and the Krylonian who had saved the day. Minho looked around at all the smiling faces. "This has been the strangest day of my life." "But a good day?" Zethrak asked. "A very good day," Minho agreed, "even if it started with me spilling beer on a predator." "Sometimes," said Zethrak, "the best friendships begin with spilled beer." Everyone in the bar laughed, and the celebration continued late into the station's night cycle. And from that day forward, whenever anyone asked about the human who defeated a Krylonian, the answer was always the same. He did it by accident, with kindness, and with a lot of spilled beer.